Hello, I'm Steven, the calculator guy, and I built a seigniorage calculator. So effectively, seigniorage tokens are tokens like Tomb, there's so many of them. Tomb, Static, Kitty, Bomb, Unite, Scarab. I don't know if that's the name of that token, but all of these tokens that attempt to be, I think Luna is technically a seigniorage token because it has that built-in mechanism with the burning and the minting. But effectively what it means is it's a token that is pegged to another token, or pegged to another value, and if it goes above the value, then you can mint more of them to just increase the supply, which will bring down the value. And when you mint more of them, those go to rewards to whoever is doing the boardroom stuff. And if it goes below the peg, then it will burn you can burn those tokens. Of course, you need the users to manually burn those tokens to reduce the supply, which increases the value of the token, right? And that's the mechanism, right? So that's called seigniorage. And there's a bunch of these tokens, right? And they have really crazy APYs and APRs. And so I built a calculator to help you guys track those. All right, so by the way, I was looking at the charts of all of these. I'm mostly interested in the boardroom token because I sort of like the price action on those for the most part. However, it should be noted that because there are so many forks, I do think what happened to Ohm is very possible to happen to a lot of these. I'm worried about the case of seigniorage tokens right now because Phantom is under peg. It's not necessarily a terrible thing, but Phantom, the Tomb is under peg of Phantom. Static is under the peg of Static is under the peg of BUSD. Unite has gone from being 13.1 to now it's 5.1, so it still has some room to fall, but it's fallen quite a bit. So all of these things are important to take consideration of. It's not just free money, it's high risk. Additionally, you have to understand this is PvP and not PvE, and what I mean by that is you're competing for profit here. For you to win, you have to get in at a certain entry, and other people must invest to lift your investment up, and you have to get out before they do. So it's competition, it's competitive investment, which is fine if you like that, if you like the competitive investment aspects, and you're willing to consensually compete in these protocols. But it's not PvE. Now PvE is, if you know gaming, it's player versus environment. This is when like venture capitalists or foundations pump a bunch of money into a new chain for like farming rewards, and people can just go out there and go have a good time getting money. It's usually not as crazy APYs as you see through PvP, but it's less competitive, more feel good, and you're supporting new chains. So you can also get burned that way too, but at least the karma is better potentially. So anyways, let's look at the calculator. I have two calculators here, the Boardroom Calculator and the Farm Calculator. The Boardroom Calculator, this is for the like B share, U share, T share, charge, cat. All of these are, and I know Scarab has one, guys. I'm sorry I didn't throw it up here. So these effectively get staked in the boardroom, but it's called the Masonry and Tomb. And here you can see that we have a APR of 949.79. So let's just put 949.79. The initial price, let's just say it's correct, 1 token. So the blue stuff is what you edit. This is the same with all of my calculators. Edit the blue, because it's the inputs. Don't edit the green, those are the outputs. Those are automatically generated. So you enter the initial price of the token you're dealing with, the amount of tokens that you've invested, and then a future price that you're speculating about, and the amount of days out that you're speculating about, and then an APR. So we're looking at initial investment of 1 token at this price, future price $10,000, so we're assuming that we're a little bit bearish. If you look at the chart, right, it's gone under $10,000 twice in the past 2 months. So, it's possible that we end up there. Who knows? Who knows if these are going to turn out long term? We just don't know. So what I will say is, yeah, these are mostly fixed supply. That doesn't mean that they're going to be super deflationary. Well, if they're deflationary, they'd be burning them. But fixed supply, there's still a lot of them in terms of supply. So, you know, keep that in mind. Okay, so we enter all that stuff, and what we get is, we get our daily ROI. We get our ROI. Now, our ROI is based off of the future value divided by the initial value minus 1. So we get a 27% increase ROI. So here we start off with 13,000, even though the price went down by like 28%, we ended up with a 27% increase. This is because of that APR. So I will admit a bit of ignorance here, so I apologize, but I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, Twitter or YouTube or whoever, that in the masonry, if tomb is below peg, then there should not be any emissions rewards into the masonry staker, so the APR should effectively be 0. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Right now, people should be burning their tomb to get T-bonds, which they'll then redeem for tomb later once this is above peg again. That's how I thought the mechanism worked. So, okay. So who knows? Maybe this APR isn't exactly accurate. But maybe it is. Maybe they're minting even though they're below peg. Okay, so profit loss, straightforward. Now the price required to break even, I like this a lot. So effectively, after 3 weeks at this APR, the price required to break even could be 7,823. So that means at 7,823, after 3 weeks, with this APR, you would still be neutral, right? You wouldn't be at a loss. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's look at the farm calculator, much more complicated. So all of these have 2 farms, right? They have the thing they're trying to peg to, in this case Phantom, and they have the thing that the coin that they've created to peg to it. That's one farm. The other farm is the thing they're trying to peg to, in this case Phantom, and then the Boardroom token, in this case T-share. So you enter those 2 things. These are just names. You can literally call these things anything, right? Banana token, it's just names. Doesn't really matter what you put here. It's just for clarity for you to look at. Now the initial investment, I copied this one just so we can compare these two. Daily ROI, you would get that from the auto compounder, or you can do the math, right? Just take the APR, divide it by 356, and you'll get the daily ROI. Then, okay, initial price of Phantom, you need that. So it was 289 last time I checked. Who knows what it is now? Initial price of T-share, we're just going to go with 13,418, even though it's slightly higher right now. It's 13,450, but that's okay. So what you'll notice that here is, unlike my impermanent loss calculator, this is automatically generated. So don't change it. This takes the initial investment, splits it in half, divides it by the price, and then spits out how many tokens would go into each side of the liquidity pool token. So you would need half of a T-share and then 2,321 Phantom. All right. Then days out, right? So here we'll do 21 just to make it comparable. And we'll say that in the future, Phantom is $5 and T-share is $10,000. So T-share goes down, Phantom goes up. A lot of people are bullish on Phantom, but you can speculate however you want. You can look at the future tokens. You can see how the pool balances itself if you want to. If you don't know what impermanent loss is, then you haven't watched enough of my videos. Impermanent loss is when you create a liquidity pool token. If you don't know what that is, you gotta watch a lot of other videos first. But if you don't know what impermanent loss is, it's effectively when you create a liquidity pool token, you're putting 2 tokens in to get like 1 token receipt called liquidity pool token, your LP token. And when you add liquidity, it has to be at a 1-to-1 ratio. Generally speaking, there are exceptions. And when the value of one token goes up, to maintain that 1-to-1 ratio, it'll sell into the other token, so it stays like that. So you can see that happened here, right? We started with 0.5 T-share, but because the value went down, Phantom sold into T-share, so bought some T-share and sold some Phantom to stay balanced. Okay, so you can see we lost $1,270 in impermanent loss, but we gained, where's interest? We gained $1,956 in interest. So we made a net profit despite the impermanent loss. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so difference versus holding. This is like, had you just held these two tokens, you would have made $585 less than you did by this strategy, by farming it. Value of held, right? So this is, if you just held, you would have made 16,000, whatever. Future value. So this is the big reveal. This is how much your strategy will be worth in 21 days. So you start off at 13,000 in 21 days. That's 17,000. That's great. Most of that comes from Phantom. Like if we put Phantom back at 289, imagine that it sort of stays flat. We're actually in the negative by $346, which is different from over here, right? Over here at $10,000, we're actually at a profit by quite a bit. But of course, the daily ROI is dramatically different, 2.6%, 0.58%. Again, I'm not 100% sure that APR is actually printing right now because it's below peg. So, you know, someone has to check that out for me. Yeah, I'll look back at the white papers, to see. But that was my understanding. I could be wrong. All right, so that's pretty much it, you guys. Like I said, when I'm looking, I don't know if I said it in this video actually. This is my second recording because last time I forgot to change this, so everything would have been tiny for you guys. So I had to re-record. Basically, what I was saying is that when I look to invest in something, I want to know what parallel tokens or what tokens of the same class are doing. Like what's their market cap, what's their charts look like. So if you look at all these charts, it doesn't really tell you too much. Right, so here we way up, down, and then sort of steadily up with the exception of this recent price action. With B share, up, way down, way up, way down, and now we're sort of in a consolidating phase. Okay. With T share, we're sort of going up and down, but mostly steadily up, but maybe sideways right here. Okay, not really telling me much. Here, it just looks like a giant sine wave. And then with cat, so it's very difficult for me to look at these charts and say there's a consistent pattern amongst them, but I'm not a very good TA. So maybe someone who can do TA better would be able to look at those charts and give a better idea of what's going on. Additionally, you look at the market cap. So if you look at the market cap of Charge, which is the second biggest Seigniorage token, you see that it's roughly, I did the math already, 3.9 million, so 4 million, right? So that's the second biggest. And then you look at something like Unite and you see that the market cap is 9.4 million. So 9.4 million is like almost 3 times, like 2.5 times the 2 point something times. So 2 point whatever times the second biggest, which, you know, I don't know how to feel about that, because there's other things to consider, like the fact that this is 5 times peg, which means there's going to be more emissions being printed off for APY for these. So it's kind of a tricky web, right? You have to consider a lot of factors, which is all to say that this is like gambling in Vegas, thinking that you can count cards. There are a lot of things you can look at and make assumptions about, that at the end of the day, it's very hard to predict the price action on the majority of these. You know, if you can read charts, maybe you would have called this head and shoulders before that collapsed. Who knows? So try to look at comparable protocols and see what you think is realistic before investing. Don't just ape in. Also, full disclosure, when I invest in these, I like to take my initials out when I can at a decent profit and then play with house money, because then I'm de-risked. And what you should also do is have a set of rules. So for example, if you invest in something, you should know what your stop loss is. So if it's negative 20%, you should know that if it hits that number, regardless of emotion, you should pull out your investment. Now, maybe you end up losing long term because it goes back up, but at least you play by your rules. And if you have a set of rules and you stick to those rules long term, you will generally do better than getting lucky. So have your rules, right? Maybe your rules are you go up by 40%, then you take out your initials and let the rest ride. Maybe it's 50%, 60%, maybe it's 15%, whatever it is. You should have those rules and you should try to be consistent with them to the best of your ability. That way you're trading by logic. Hopefully it's logical. Hopefully your rules are logical, as opposed to trading by emotion. All right, so that's basically it. If you wanted access to this calculator before anyone else, I guess, you could have done that through my Patreon. So I released this on Patreon pretty early this morning, and you know, I definitely made some changes and switches to it since then, but they got to look at it, they got to use it, and that's that. So I'm going to release this publicly. It should be in the links down below in the description. What I will say is that I'm probably going to stop advertising my Patreon like this week, maybe, because it's getting to the point just to where I'm perfectly happy with the capacity, and I think if it gets to be any more, I will sort of dilute the attention that I can give to the messages and DMs. So I don't know if I will close the new, like close signups for new patrons or what, but I'm definitely getting close to capacity, and I want to be able to give a meaningful amount of time to each message that I receive there, because that's sort of what I believe the service is there, is being able to answer questions about DeFi there and not rush through them, which is what I don't want to do. So yeah, it's about that. But I will also be opening a private Discord for my patrons this week. So hopefully we will be able to communicate more fluently there. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Seigniorage? Seigniorage? Signorage? It's not signorage. I had to look it up. It's seigniorage. Seigniorage. Because you can pronounce it with the sen first. Seigniorage or seigniorage. It's up to you, really. But it's definitely not signorage. Not signorage.